You're listening to Intern Justin's podcast.
Justin, let's get going.
Well, or someone else.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't hate Justin.
And then you know what, Justin, if you want to come, be kind of wheels back up.
The first comment is Revenge of the Sith. Underneath.
Oh, maybe you're right.
What a fucking asshole.
Could that be it? What a piece of shit.
It is Revenge of the Sith.
I guess I tell you to be here at 6:30. Six is not early.
I love him though. I mean, he's like, what are you, a fucking idiot? This is one of my favorites.
I mean, it was said in jest.
That famous Justin Witt.
Intern Justin tweeted that he was the greatest dad of all time.
My favorite one was the Justin.
He did a really good job.
But I say, Justin, baby, you're up. I might need you.
Welcome to Justin and the Minifans, second week in a row of no Blind Mike Geary. So here we are. We got, we had a full week of shows this week, unlike last week where it started on Tuesday. Unexpectedly, so I originally had Sheldon, Pat and Lawrence, LK lined up for the first half, and then I had the Conspiracy Boys lined up for the second half at 7:30. LK said he couldn't make it. Now I see him backstage, so I'm going to bring him in. LK, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
You there, buddy?
Yeah, last minute call.
Awesome. You got and then I also got Sheldon from North Dakota.
How's it going?
And Pat and Lawrence coming in.
What's up, boys?
Thank God, Delkay. Somebody knows what they're doing here. Thank God. I was like, how am I going to do this?
What, you had some electrical trouble?
I feel like Poppy's kitchen plus Justin here.
Let's smoke.
Okay.
Let's smoke.
So I sent you guys, kind of the things I wanted to talk about. I don't know if there's anywhere you guys wanted to start off. I think we should start off with the kind of carrying over from last week with the whole Amish thing. Is PA out? Is Pennsylvania out? I mean, Steve and Kirk both seem very, very down on Pennsylvania right now. With either the lying about the Amish community or the whole not being very accommodating. People aren't really making good pitches. Like, what's your view? Do you still think Pennsylvania is in the works, or do you think the next live show is somewhere else?
I mean, there's always eerie and strange things when I went to Pennsylvania. Like the 2 times I did, like it kind of just sucked, to be honest with you. Yeah, there's really nothing to do. It's kind of like Connecticut-y, like in that sense of boredom. So I can completely see them writing that off. Like, it's not a fun place, really. I mean, there was the Hershey Park, but they're not what it was, I guess. I don't know, but I can see them dumping that. Yeah, like Sheldon dumped out.
I think there's 2 problems, right? Drive-ins are not
Sorry.
Well, the drive-ins are not places that keep up with the times, right? You go to websites like they were talking on the show, right? They are not up to date. I think they're trying to reinvent themselves, and Corona has been great for their business, and they're probably busy. But with all these restrictions going like state by state, varying by state, it might be a challenge. But I don't know. It seems like nobody is responding. I personally think Pennsylvania is far, but I would go. But I don't know if there's a closer option. Why not? But I'm being selfish here. I like to explore different places, but logistically, I would rather be a closer place to Massachusetts. But that's my selfish take.
I think anywhere in a 20-hour radius is driving distance. I love driving. I could drive across the country if need be.
Yeah, me too.
I just don't have a good enough vehicle, bro. If you give me a car, I'll go fucking anywhere, man. You gotta, it's got to light on fire.
Sheldon, are you there?
Uh-oh.
Sheldon? Uh-oh. We're gonna kick Sheldon out. And hopefully
so
back in.
Do you think a repeat of a driving right now so close to the Saco one would be beneficial? Would be interesting? Do you think people would go?
Oh,
Of course, it would sell out.
I think it wouldn't be a repeat at all. That's like saying, would you go see a band 3 months apart in a different venue? It's like, well, it's still at a concert venue. It's like, yeah, it's still at a concert venue, but it could be a completely different show.
Oh yeah, every show is different.
There's not going to be any overlap. I mean, maybe Mike will do stand up again. Maybe he won't. I'm sure.
Maybe he will fail, right?
I'm sure me and Mike will, put together some more of those movie clips we did. Yeah. But there won't be any anything similar or anything the exact same. So I mean, I think if you went to the one in Saco, you can still be able to go to the one up in PA, or maybe it's in New Hampshire, or who knows where the next one is. But there's no.
If you had a choice to pick, where would you pick?
Where would I pick?
Yeah.
I'd like to go to Louisiana.
I'd like to go to Louisiana.
Choice. Or I'd like to
Sandpoint, Alaska.
Louisiana or Mississippi. I think doing a Mississippi live show.
It's an island.
And in Brandon Walker's hometown, after he says, like, what did he say? He said Kirk was touching himself.
I don't remember.
He said Kirk
but I need to represent my folks in Iowa, and I would say let's go Panora.
Panora, after you and your buddies.
My buddy will.
There.
Yeah, recognize.
But no, I think the more they look at it, I think the more PA is probably out. Pennsylvania's out. I will say though, I do want to check out this whole Barstool gambling app, and you can't right now. The only state you can do it in is in Pennsylvania. So I have my ExpressVPN going, but they don't have a server that's in Pennsylvania. So unfortunately, I'm stuck. Going down to Twin River for now. But it's I'm really looking forward to because you're just not able to like place money, but like you're able to. The interface is great. Everything's awesome about it.
I mean, can we take a second to recognize that we had like all these people up in Saco and not one person got sick, and then like a few weeks later, a wedding kills the state. It's wonderful.
I had a bet that 20% of the people would get sick, and surprisingly, unless people got sick and didn't say anything, like nobody got sick, which.
I mean, it probably happened.
Sheldon again.
Sheldon. The fuck, Sheldon? Where are you, man?
I'm at work. My Wi-Fi apparently sucks. I'm standing right next to the router.
Your wife or your Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi.
Both.
Okay.
But Sheldon, what's your take on a live show in Pennsylvania? Would you be traveling out that far, or would that be something you would just have to check out the next week when it hits the feed?
No, I would for sure try and get out to Pennsylvania. All the pitches suck so far, and I don't understand.
Yep, we lost Sheldon. I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah, maybe next time. It's tough, but thankfully LK was able to scrap together, so it's not just me and Pat just shooting the shit. But is there anything else you guys want to talk about regarding the live show? I know there's a couple things that came up this week that were quite interesting, whether it be Carabas, the day of Carabas Thursday show, or we even got the whole Mayo call that people keep talking about that happened yesterday. I actually listened to that today, and it was just it was like a 13-minute call. It was this guy's fucking. Why I don't even understand what he's so angry about. Like, we get it, you want a casting couch. Like, does he want Kirk to call him and be like, hey Andy, come on down,
hang out, bro?
I think the first time I met Mayo was Mikey and the Minifans, right? We did one together, and he's an okay guy. He's not bad. He took a turn and just decided to become this contrarian, but I think deep down he's a good person. I don't know why he's sticking with this character.
I think deep down we're all good people. I like him. Do I think Andy Mayo is Hitler?
Definitely not.
No, absolutely not.
But I don't like this argument of this person's a good person, so we should lay off. It's like he's being a dick.
Absolutely.
He's calling in. He's making bogus statements. He's telling Kirk that he blocked him, as if Kirk's going to that's going to affect him in any way.
I did laugh at one Photoshop. It must have been that.
It's just fucking
that one. I saw of Kirk blocking somebody real quickly. It was in somebody's bathrooms.
No, but if you go and talk to him, I spoke with him, talked to him a few times on DMs and then during the show, and he's smart. I would love to have more conversations with him. But I don't know what happened. He just took a turn, and
I don't know.
That's why I love you.
But you know what? But you know what? Justin, one thing that needs to be noted is I've never seen a caller stay 13 minutes with Kirk on the phone. So it's not only him trying to be a contrarian, Kirk gives him the time. So he might not hate him 100%.
Oh, No, I think he hates him 100%, but he just kept him on there because he
He
wanted
hates
to
him
see how.
100%.
He just
Maybe
wanted
he
to
hates
see
him
how.
100%, but it's like, the 6th to 9th song on albums, and it's just filler time.
Well, no, I think it's
No.
more like the. He was just letting Andy kept shooting himself in the foot.
I would if he wants it exactly. You want to make a fucking scene of yourself? I will let you. Yes.
I mean, what did he say today? He's like, why don't you have Mutt in?
I know,
like,
that was
that doesn't even make sense. That like he works for Entercom. Entercom
Or-
would not allow Mutt to come on in. Or Fred Toucher, he wants fucking
Right.
Fred Toucher to come in. Oh yeah, because I'm sure Fred Toucher's looking for the. I mean, don't get me wrong. Kirk is a million times better than Fred Toucher, but Fred's doing perfectly fine by himself. I don't think he's going to take 2 days off a week to go and do a podcast that competes with him.
And
fucking
why does
makes
everybody seem to
absolutely
care
no
so
sense.
much? That's what makes no sense in the whole scope of it, though. It's
So
like, why does everybody give a fuck?
So we talk a little bit about that on Ano, by the way, tonight at 8:30. But we talk about that, and when we talk about Carabas, that
I have my
Kirk doesn't
sources.
Kirk doesn't want another number one with him, right? He doesn't want a co-host. He wants a sidekick, and Mike fits well this profile. You know, he doesn't want someone to drive the show with him. It's the Kirk Mayhem show, right? So
yeah. I mean,
Kirk wants whatever the fuck he wants, and he's gonna do whatever he wants.
exactly.
So I don't
It's
know
not
why I
easy
think
to
it's
find
all
someone that will
great.
accept that.
I mean, that's when people don't understand. Kirk says like, "Hey, like, yeah, I understand when the show first started. I said I was going to have a casting couch of people that come in. He had Mike at MHB. He liked Mike, so he stays with Mike. I mean, that's kind of how things are going. If Mike has to leave for some reason, I'm sure he'd try to find someone else, or maybe he wouldn't. I mean, it's the Kirk fucking Minahan show. He doesn't need to go bring in Gary Tangway. It's like, I'm sorry, stop living in 2017. I'm sure the Kirk and Callahan show was great, but it's over. It's never happening again. You're never going to have Kirk and anyone else who used to be with him on WEEI. So if you missed that show, I think someone mentioned that it's still online on a podcast somewhere. Go listen to that show. Just stop calling in. And I mean, what Mayo did was, it made absolutely no fucking sense to me. When I first of all, like, I can recognize his voice. I'm pretty good at recognizing. I think RA called in yesterday too.
Yep, he did.
With
great call, by the way. Great call about the donuts and stuff, right?
But I think the question, Kirk, I want to know if Kirk ever fornicated in a Dunkin' Donuts, because I know
that was
I worked at a
call.
restaurant and some people would bang in the basement. It was a little strange. There was this tiny little
So-
Mexican dude.
I've seen somebody bang in a cemetery.
Hey, nothing wrong with
Creepiest
Mexican dudes,
place.
okay?
Nothing
So,
wrong with
hey,
Mexican dude. Yeah, it was just tiny Mexican dude who banged this girl.
Quick question: do you miss Mike on the show?
Do I miss Mike? Of course I miss Mike. I think he brings, it's kind of like something different. Not having him, and I wouldn't say it's better. I wouldn't say it's worse not having him. It's just
Like your friend who has a sick puppy, you just love to see the puppy, but you can only take so much of him per day, and then you get to go home.
I love Mike on the
But
show.
in a good way. They're in a good way.
I think he brings something that
No, he does, obviously.
isn't currently there, but I think these past.
He's more than a punching bag.
Do
but he's a very good
you
punching
think
bag.
how the show evolved in a sense that Steve participates more now? Do you like this new dynamic between Kirk and Steve?
Oh, I mean, I think it's incredible. Like, I think Steve just being able to go with the Marty Mush or like aborting callers on demand. Whenever he finds them to be.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that he's abusing his powers of aborting callers a little bit?
Well, I mean,
if you got power, why not use it, right?
I mean, he's honoring the late great RBG by just vacuuming away. So
I think he's trigger happy. He's more than happy to just trigger it.
I don't know. I think it's hilarious when you just hear.
Oh, it is absolutely, absolutely.
But
This isn't hype from it though. That's why it's hilarious. That's why it's hilarious, though.
Back on the topic of Mike. Yeah, I mean,
Can we call him? Can we call him live right now? Can we call him?
No, I'm not calling him live. I called him a couple days ago. He didn't answer them, but we texted back and forth. He seems to, it be going through. So
that's good.
It's I'm glad. I hope he takes as long as he needs, like like I said, I'm in the same boat as Kirk, where I'm worried that he would come back too early. I've definitely been in those situations where, you think you think you just want to get out, but in reality, an
You
extra
just
week
want
or
to play
two
PlayStation.
would probably be.
Well, I hope he's already at the YouTube lessons, so that would be good if he's
Yeah.
already taking the lessons.
I will say, so I don't think he's in the exact same thing I was in. So I've been inpatient at a mental hospital twice in Norwood. It's no longer, it got flooded. It's no longer there.
Is that the one that
But,
looks like a prison with green walls?
there's like moss all over the walls.
All right, because they tried to put me in there, but I talked myself out if I'm still
Jesus,
in one.
you guys
no,
are
I-
all funked
I
out.
voluntarily
I was like
went there.
15 though.
I
Oh,
spent
God, Joyce.
I spent my 21st birthday there. That was a lot of fun. And they have these group classes where they encourage you to go. You don't have to go. Nothing's like mandatory. And they're very, very group oriented. Sometimes you'll have like coloring with like you color in groups and people will, like,
share pencil. No, share
yes,
crayons.
and,
I
like,
mean, duh.
and people will come in and like they'll bring a guitar and like you'll all just sit there and some guy will sing the song "Home" by Daughtry, and then someone will start crying and you'll be like, okay, well, because I mean some people that really have like serious mental issues.
Can we stop with the depression stuff?
Well,
here?
yeah, it's called the
Get
mental
depressed,
hospital.
man.
Oh,
Let's talk about
I'm just kind of
Could have
talking
been dealing
about.
with all
I don't
each.
know. I don't know what Mike's. I'm just giving some insight on maybe these classes Mike is taking, but because I know like we all sat around in a circle and it was called pet therapy, and someone walked around holding a dog, and we weren't allowed to hold the dog. We could only pet the dog because they were afraid that one of us would like kill the dog, would straight up like Lenny the dog. But so we were just all sat there, and I was like, oh. And then she was
It's
like,
good you know that
"Next
reference
person."
though.
That reminds me when I went to a driver's retraining program. Have you guys done that
For your
before?
DUI? No, I haven't gotten
No,
DUI.
and that's where I'm gonna get. I got into that fucking program because I had 3 moving violations, all speed, right? So I got there.
You're just too fucking lazy to pay him
Yeah.
off.
So no, I get there.
Tickets. See, like one ticket expired. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
Right, and then everyone
Was my dad there with
the
you?
instructor. I don't know, but the instructor
If
asked,
it was-
so why
if it
are
was
you
13,
here?
he would have been.
Why are you here? So people saying, oh, DUI, I ran away from the cops and this and that, and I was like, yeah, speeding ticket. Like I felt like the best of the worst, It's like
It's like, yeah, if I could go back and ask my dad one question, it would be like, it would probably be what he said during like shit like that. It's like, what did you say when you had to, pay the $1,700 was to take the scar and the shit? Only after you drove around and had a lady hit you, you just drove off and then get fucking arrested for the weekend.
I was legitimately scared.
It's like, what did you say
What?
when you got there to
Okay,
attend
well,
the program?
We're gonna,
Alright,
we're
back.
gonna
I know,
get
fucking
back
with
on
you.
track here
I'm
because I don't know
fucking
where
with
that went. But so yeah, so I think these classes, I mean, he's in, are kind of, just kind of showing him how. I'm sure they're.
Well, you start with a tangent. We were talking about classes. You were talking about, the.
No, you're
Yeah,
still
so
talking
people
about
at
yourself.
hospital.
I don't know. If
He's
any
trying to
class
cut the
have to do
course.
with
You're still
the mental
carrying. I'll
health.
let it just roll, bro.
the mental health, but I'm sure, he's learning how to, just do kind of basic things, just kind of like identify streets and things like that, and hopefully he comes
Braille.
back with a cane. I think it'd be cool if he came back with.
Oh
a
no,
dog.
Kane would be awesome. Kane would be
Obviously,
awesome.
the dog would have to stay outside the studio, but it would definitely be interesting to see when I'm excited for Mike to come back. I hope he doesn't.
So when
come
do you
back
think
too
he's
early.
coming back? Like Kirk thought like this week. When do you think he's coming back?
When do I think he's coming back?
Yep.
Whatever Monday, the first Monday after October starts. So if that's like,
So that would be the 5th,
yep. So
October 5th.
if I were a betting man, I'd bet October 5th is when Mike Geary comes in.
I'll take the over because everybody else is taking the under. I'll give
Is there
him
any-
4.7 weeks.
Any other?
No, that would be 5. Shit. No, never mind.
Anything else you guys want
It's
to?
been a
talk
long
about in
day, like I
regards to-
said.
In regards to Mike,
Mike,
before we get on
no, I hope he's doing well. Thoughts and
Yeah,
prayers.
so hope he takes care of himself. Yeah,
Until
got
we
to get
get
it done
into
now
the-
before you get too crazy later.
the OGs. I mean, that kind of relates back to the whole Mayo situation. I mean, with Kirk dubbing all of his old enemies per se, like fanemies, I guess, people who are fans of the show because obviously they listen every day, but still hate the show for some reason. He's, he made a Mount
love-hate
Rushmore. I think it was what Mayo. I think Ziggy Robinson and Visionless Dave were on there, and I think RK was on there as well. Do you guys think the OGs will ever kind of reclaim not necessarily the throne, but reclaim their status of, just being respected again, respected in the.
This is a very walker talk community, and they're gonna have to do a lot of walking, I guess.
So
Maybe the shortest way I can answer that.
Here's my sentiment. I hate this fucking OGs and mean cells and all that. To me, everyone is a Minifan, right? Mm-hmm. This tribes within the universe doesn't make sense. I consider everyone Minifan. Pat and I talked about that in the past. Pat has been listening to Kirk for a long time. He doesn't call himself an OG. And so have I. I've been listening to Kirk for a long time. Like, I'm a Minifan, and Pat's a Minifan, and in turn, Justice is a Minifan, even though you just started listening to him back in, August last year? So we need to stop this divide. This divide is bullshit. It's like, hey, we don't need to like each other, all the time, but we have something in common, which is Kirk. Let's just enjoy that.
Like Colin says, when have you ever been fine and dandy at the same time? It's like you never, like George Carlin, the comedian, you're never going to have everybody fine and dandy at the same time. You're not going to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
And everybody seems like they want to get happy.
Yeah, and hey, I think
it's ultimately trivial shit that doesn't matter. In the scope of things, you know what I mean?
It's part of human nature, right? People need a break, like if the OGs need a break and need to take some time out and just, recharge the batteries, forget about this world for a while, come back, enjoy the show. No, so be it. But, I'm not one that likes to, call names. Everyone's a Minifan.
I mean, I agree with the everyone's a Minifan thing, but I was just more talking about the whole, when Kirk came out and said, hey, fuck Steve from Providence, fuck all these people. They're kind of getting their heads too big. They were, they were kind of influencing the show in ways that goes against.
Telling Mike that's fucking bull. I would have been as pissed, but nobody can be as mad as or good as Kirk to express that though.
It was definitely something that it was wrong, and I wouldn't done it. But I think what exploded was the fact that DC was complaining about the sponsors and all, and I think DC sometimes is very emotional and reacts too quick to things instead of collecting the facts and then sleeping on it and then taking action. So I think it was a amalgamation of facts that made Kirk explode as well. Was Steve wrong? Yes. Did it warrant to explode the whole thing? I don't think so. And I think if anything. Steve from Providence.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve from Providence. But I think the show should capitalize on that and make Steve from Providence do something, to redeem himself. Go lick someone's ass or go eat,
Yes, eat a dog's ass.
Shout out from North Dakota, Powell's scoop or something.
That's what I think. I think he just has to eat a dog's ass. I mean,
that's
kind of.
I think it's fair.
Bestiality charges, though. I don't know.
I think there's no reason he shouldn't be eating a dog's asshole.
I know. I think it would be great. And I agree with you, Justin. Maybe it's getting over people's head, but you gotta respect someone like Steve from Providence. Like he's a loyal Minifan.
Oh yeah, no.
He has helped a lot. Has he done something stupid? Yes. Should he be punished? Yes. But let's move on. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should move on when Kirk's ready to move on. I mean, it's his show. I mean,
exactly.
We really.
And I think Kirk values loyalty, right? So
I think you have to look at it from the view of what if Mike was ready with comedy and he did have stand up in the Sacco show. It wouldn't have been terrible, but it would have been it would have been an awkward 10 minutes instead of being like the funniest part of the entire weekend. So I think Kirk doesn't necessarily look at what happened because Mike still wasn't prepared, but he looks at, okay, well, if Mike was prepared, this entire bit would have went to shit.
Exactly.
So he needs to act.
Capitalize on the opportunity.
So he's acting on the fact that of what could have happened, not necessarily what did happen. So, does that make sense? Okay.
It does. It does, but I don't think Mike would. Like, Mike didn't prepare anyway, and I wish he didn't take a break so Kirk could shit on him because of that. That he didn't prepare himself.
I'm sure he's gonna have. I'm sure.
But here's what
building up.
Here's my opinion, Justin. This is all Ted's fault because if he wasn't running for, if he wasn't campaigning against Mike, this accusation would never be brought up. Steve would never bring this.
No,
I think
it would have slid out. I think it came out eventually.
I'm just fucking with Ted. He's a great guy.
Rolled out.
I think I think Mike's just been kind of going through things for a little bit, and it just kind of reached a boiling point over the weekend. And I'm glad he's getting help. He's dealing with his blindness and all that stuff. So.
I mean, it's gotta be tough, though.
It sucks. I mean, I used to complain about my eyesight all the time. I have juvenile macular degeneration as well. My eyesight's not great. My grandfather is now legally blind. I'm probably going down that road, but I'm never going to working with Mike. I don't want to say it's just like it makes me thankful for my eyesight. So
it's not an easy situation. I will never judge him because there's so many emotions and things that must go through his head that I'm not in his place. I will never judge.
I'll judge him if he gets into a car and drives, though. Then I can judge him, though.
Yeah,
that's about obviously.
No, I was planning to if he went to Florida with us, I was planning to rent a scooter and just have him drive.
Oh yeah, I mean,
what does switch teams mean that you put in the private jet?
Oh, bring the new guys, but I don't know if they're ready.
Oh, Elvin's backstage. I'm sure the other guys are going to be backstage soon.
Yeah,
but
the last thing bullshit. All this conspiracy stuff is trash.
The last thing I wanted to talk about was Jared Carrabis. I mean, you want to talk about, kind of like, I guess he's the closest thing to a Mike fill-in that we've gotten so far. How did you do? Did you like the Thursday episode? I loved it. I think Carrabis was great.
Pat, you want to go first?
I didn't listen yet. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a couple days behind. I had shit to do.
I
don't want to get into it. Blah blah blah.
I did.
But I don't want to.
I did listen, and I think it was great. I think it brings a different perspective because Jared is not a sidekick; he's a number one, right? And he goes head to head with Kirk. He does respect Kirk a lot, but I think he can hold his conversation.
I think when Kirk's there, he does take the sidekick role. I do think Kirk gets a lot out of Jared that he wouldn't get out, that he wouldn't necessarily, Dave wouldn't get out of him or anyone else would.
I don't agree 100%. I think he pushed back a lot during the show, which is great. I mean, it's a different dynamic. It's not Mike, always Sterling and Carney. I think Jared was a different dynamic. I liked it, but I think he doesn't have what it takes to be there in the long run because he likes baseball and wrestling, right? That's it. So I think on the long run it would be boring. So bringing in maybe once a month, that would be great. Just to shake things up. But to be like a recurring guest on the show, I don't think it would be good.
Yeah, I don't even think that's in the cards is to have him.
No, but I know some people were talking about that, right? Maybe having him more regularly and stuff.
I mean, Jared's also a busy guy when you look at his schedule of stuff. I mean, he's got baseball to watch, and he's got friends from high school to get dinner with. So.
But I did like because the stories that he brought about his mom cleaning his house, which was ridiculous. Anyway.
Hilarious. I think Dave and Big Cat might have just kind of brushed over it. I mean, he is on radio with Kevin and who was it? CCK. Kevin and what's her name? Casey. And I feel like they never really got into that, the whole having his mom come in and clean his house. But it's
it's fucked up. It's fucked
up.
I
necessarily wouldn't call it fucked up.
No. What if it's this weird situation where it's actually his mom needs a job, but she's got too much pride to get on disability, so he just pays her to do that because he knows she'll be safe there.
Maybe.
Dude, if my mom needs money, I would just give her money. I wouldn't make her
if I had
money.
My mom's been pretty good to me. I probably wouldn't. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'll think
I
about
think
it.
it was good. So what's your opinion, Justin? What did you think about the show? Did you like it?
I loved Carabas, and I thought it was great to hear kind of his perspective. It's interesting that he really was ignorant to pretty much the entire Verdugo situation when he was like, yeah, what is that? And like they had to explain the entire thing to him. I think that it's just funny that Carabas puts himself in a bubble where anything he doesn't want to hear, he just doesn't hear, which is very interesting to me.
He played dumb. He definitely knows what's going on. He just chose to say he didn't.
I think he's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like don't how people say like don't meet your heroes. I think he was kind of like hey like he just wants to. He doesn't even want to hear about that stuff because he wants Alex Verdugo to be the guy who makes throws and gets people out at the plate. He doesn't want him to be anything else. But no, I think it'd be interesting to see Carabas come in next week. I think it's going to be an interesting, week next week with no Steve and no Mike with Carano in. So we're going to go see the whole Carano Kirk.
What's your expectations on that?
Oh, it's going to
I'm
get blocked
excited.
like everything else.
I'm excited.
He's going to block it out.
I think it's
Carano
going
is.
to be. Well, hopefully Pat will listen. I mean, Lord knows he.
I mean,
exactly.
I had to take like my mom to the hospital one day. My buddy's wife's like pretty much is gonna leave him and take the kid the next day. And I'm like, I had shit to do, guys.
You should be like,
I need to rip up.
hey,
Fine,
we're listening to this show, so this guy's sidekick just left him. Just how like your wife's about to leave you, and then you can listen.
It's
to it.
easier to just not because I need something to do to when I rip apart her door tomorrow and swap the motor out in the regulator and blah blah blah. So I'm like, I'll have something to do.
Okay.
Problem solved.
But no, I think I'm
I never
excited.
I never go a Friday without listening to him. I mean, into a Monday without listening to that Falling Friday. Don't worry, Justin.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm excited.
You caught me at a bad time.
I think it's going to.
Is Justin out? All right, it's the Pat and LK show. Fuck you, Channel Zero guys. You're not coming in.
I was about to say no.
Here we go.
Oh, you're back. Oh, fuck.
I
we
don't
just
know.
We fired
couldn't-
the lasers. We wanted to see the laser could be fired.
But I think the calls are going to be interesting. I want to know how Carano plays with it. I wonder if he'll be able to play with it, or if it's going to be he's going to take it seriously and take offense to it. So
No, I don't think so. I think he can have a tough skin if you want.
so
You
anything
can
else, you
cry
boys?
about it at home later.
Anything else you boys want to say before we get these tinfoil hats in here?
No, man, I'm excited for next week. Thanks for having me and watch
Thank
all
you,
aboard at
Lewis.
8:30.
Okie dokie.
I'll
So,
plug
thanks,
in
guys.
and
Thanks for
program
coming on.
Have a good one.
eventually.
And now we are going to bring on Channel Zero E and Elvin from these two. One of my favorite, maybe my favorite show on the channel.
There you go.
I watched every single episode. I think I started off like the first episode you guys were talking about. I think something like celebrities like drinking the blood of babies, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, yeah.
normal. But the more you get, you read into these things. You're like, I've always wanted to take a deep dive. Before we get into the Kirk stuff, I've always wanted to take a deep dive of going into a flat Earth group with trying to believe, because like I think it would be very interesting to see if I could get myself to believe. Oh, we also
I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't know if E can make that argument, but I can't get with flat Earth.
So, when the news calms down and all of that, I actually do
News
have
will never
some
calm
stuff.
down, E. That's one. That's
Well-
one. As soon as it calms down, there's a false flag operation, and they get you hyped right back up.
Right? That's what I'm saying. But no, I do have some actually pretty compelling flat Earth stuff that made me wonder. So I did. That is something I want to do down the road, and we could have you on the show to do it. That would be perfect.
Does your theory include the dome? Because if you start introducing the dome bullshit that I've heard before, I'm out. I can't do it.
I like the ice wall
Kinda.
thing. I like how there's guards at the ice wall that no one's ever met before. And if you try to go past the ice wall, they'll shoot you.
See,
which
that's
doesn't
some
make
like Game of
sense,
Thrones shit.
Because if you just go past the ice wall, wouldn't you just die? And then why do you need to guard the ice wall? I don't know.
No, that's fair.
But it's
So, as far as planetary conspiracies, I will. What's up, Zach?
Yeah, what did I just? Hi
Well,
guys.
you're walking into
Yeah,
we just went balls deep into conspiracy right off the bat, which I love.
it.
Thank you,
Love
thank you. What I will say is, I am willing to hear a conspiracy that the Earth is actually larger than we know it is, and there's a whole area that's controlled by the elite that we can't even get to. Is that within? Is that something that you're willing to talk about?
I'm willing to believe pretty much anything. That doesn't mean I do believe it. Like if you give me evidence, shit, I'll believe pretty much anything. Because I mean, there's always one conspiracy that everyone's like, oh, this isn't true. Then it comes out to be true, and you're like, fuck. And then you're like, since that one thing is true, what else is true?
That's just, right. That's what I say.
The whole thing.
That's what I say all the time. I say that all the time to E, because when Epstein happened, that was the one that, because E had been talking about the island and all this stuff, and I was like, no fucking way. And when it all came out, I was like, all right, what else you got? Now I'm like really all ears.
And then you're like, there's no way, like, I mean, he's gonna get tried and things are gonna happen. Like, haha, Epstein's gonna kill himself. Then he kills himself, and you're like, okay, time to fuck out. Like, something's going on here.
Well, then you go, this is a 1 in 100 billion situation, right? Wrong. Peter Nygaard, we talked about a couple weeks ago, fashion mogul, billionaire in Canada. This dude's doing the same thing. It's a playbook. It's insane.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bet there's more to come. More to come.
Well, I have a conspiracy for you guys. So, Steve is going on a vacation all next week.
Ooh.
And something happened last night. I don't know if you guys were familiar. A certain Supreme Court justice is no longer with us.
That was actually her clone, but
that happened years ago. If you're
Zach.
Yeah.
Do you believe that Steve Robinson had anything? Like, I don't mean he sprinkled something in a drink. Do you think he had anything to do with what happened with RBG?
I mean, what if he's just like simply praying something bad happens to her at home every night? Is that contributing?
He will
like, are you a karma spiritual guy, or like? I'm sure he's rooting against her, if that counts.
I think he might have gotten tipped off, and then he said, "You know what? You know how like when players win the Super Bowl, they just party for just a week straight." I think he got tipped off, and he's like, "Listen." He's like, I can't. The whole thing, with Barstool and people getting like drinking on the job. He's like, I'm just gonna. Next week is just going to be just full of
just a bender.
Of him just celebrating what is probably going to be a majority conservative Supreme Court for probably the rest of our lifetime.
He's probably sacrificed some deers trying to make this happen. I mean, that feels like very Steve-ish, like making some blood sacrifice. Did you see? You're a sports guy, Justin. Did you see the LeBron thing from the other day?
I saw
someone came out. I forgot who it was, but they said the talcum powder thing is actually a satanic kind of ritual.
He's actually summoning the devil. Yeah, no, that's that is very interesting. Now,
not ruling it out.
I'm not saying I have proof of that, but let's just say I can't say what I know about that certain situation because who comes back from 3-1 down against the Warriors, against probably the greatest team of all time, without a little help from Satan? I mean, that's all I'm going to say. But,
exactly.
Yeah, I just wanted to, kind of, I've never been on with you guys before. I think I asked Elvin to come on, and he said, hey, the other two boys are, ready if needed. So I said, hey, instead of making it just a one segment show, let's bring on you boys for the second half.
Let's make it
kind of talk about this whole, we can throw in a little conspiracy stuff, but also I just wanted to kind of get your, you guys' views on the past couple weeks, see how your eyes, because who was a Minifan before the show? Were all three of you Minifans? I believe it was Elvin, right?
Yeah, that was me.
Nice. And so E and Zach, do you listen to the show regularly now? And
I do sporadically. I have a lot of shit going on in my personal life right now, but other than that, yeah, I normally do. So this past couple of weeks I've been in and out, but normally I do, yeah.
But
I'm a huge fan now.
You know enough that like Mike is taking a leave of absence and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like what are your guys' thoughts? You liking the shows without Mike? You think it's kind of like something different? I think what it is it's something different that, not that it would get old not having Mike, but I think it's just we've listened to Mike for pretty much a year. He's been on every single episode. So I don't want to say it's refreshing to have him not on, because I love the guy and he's awesome on the show. But I think it's just something different. So it kind of hits the ears a different way, and to hear the evolution of Steve, to see like kind of what he's turned into is incredible, I think.
Yeah. And I kind of have a special place in my heart for Mike. So I do miss him. I mean, from every time he's been on our show and everything, he's kind of the one who indulges me more than any guest or even my co-host. So
he's also very open to, he kind of has like the same philosophy I have, where he's open to anything if you can convince him on it. Like, he's not going to say something like, Mark Zuckerberg is a lizard person just because someone tells him Mark Zuckerberg's up. But if you start providing some examples of how Mark Zuckerberg can be a lizard person. And he's
well, as Kirk would say, the feeble-minded, are most likely to get kind of pulled into the conspiracies.
Yes.
Yeah, but when he was on our show, though, he said that, and then he was playing along with us. He was like getting into it. So everybody is. He did say
the feeble-minded who think the feeble-minded are the ones who are.
Yes. Exactly.
It's all big.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm bummed, Mike. So I like him. I think Mike should obviously be a permanent fixture. What I have, kind of what I've come to maybe a realization on, or I don't know. I think Mike is like the younger cousin that Kirk can just kind of pick on. Like, shitty analogy, but right, he's like the younger brother cousin that you can just pick on. He's your doormat, and that's cool. I kind of like when Kirk has not necessarily an equal, because it's his fucking show, but just someone that's like an adult with him, and have Mike in there too. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to shit on Mike. I would like to have like another person along with Mike, because I think Mike's being asked to do a lot.
Like I said a couple months ago when Kirk put out that one podcast where it was just him talking like in his car for like 10 minutes. I love that. I don't know.
That's great.
What it was about it. I just love him just talking and just bouncing ideas off of himself, because you can just see like in his mind he's thinking about something, and then he'll be like, oh yeah, and then he'll just be talking about like his coffee. I don't know. I find everything.
He's a great talker. And to your initial point, to like fill in the gaps here, so I don't listen to the show regularly. I get all of my updates on the Kirk Minahan world through Twitter, which is. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what to make of it half the time, whether everybody's trolling, if it's real. I don't even know what the fuck to make of it. And then Elvin fills us in a lot. So, but I used to listen to Kirk when he was on EEI. I'm very familiar with Kirk, and I occasionally listen to the show. But I like Mike a lot. And when he came on, and I knew who Mike was from when he was an intern at Barstool, because I've been a diehard Barstool guy forever. So I've known who Mike was. And I actually thought he, like, again, considering Kirk's personality, like Elvin was just saying, I feel like Mike has filled that role really well from what I've listened to, the limited amount that I've listened to. But at the end of the day, I hope Mike, takes care of what he needs to take care of, and he comes back and he's, as good as ever, better than ever.
Now, we all believe that Mike is actually blind here, correct?
Is that a conspiracy?
Because people say when people meet him, they always go, oh, he's actually, people think he's blinder than he actually. The people are like, oh, I don't know if it's just a shtick. Like, I met this guy when me and Mike were down at Entercom, fucking with Chris Curtis right after that whole, when Chris Curtis called Kirk irrelevant. Some kid stopped. I think it was like a call screener or whatever. He stopped by and he goes, yeah, you're blind, Mike, right? And he goes, so you're not actually blind, are you? And Mike's like, no, I'm actually blind. So there are people out there that still, for some reason, don't think blind Mike is blind, which would be insane. But
I think people look at blind as like it's black and white, like there's one or the other.
You either see or you don't.
But there's there's a spectrum there, and I think that he's closer to blind. But
he's legally blind, which I think some people get confused by that, because back to the Barstool thing, Portnoy, I don't think believed it at first either. There was that famous clip of when he called Mike up. He threw the wallet. That was the famous clip, and it hit him in the face, and they laughed, and he was like, "Okay, so you are blind, okay?" And the spike ball, when they were playing spike ball, and they won like 21-0 or whatever.
Ping pong, yeah,
yeah. So
Mike did get a point off Portnoy.
Did he?
He did.
And Hank.
What was I gonna say?
I have no conspiracy here that Mike can see. I believe he's blind.
We can put that to rest. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure because I'm sure there's some people out there who are still on the whole Mike can still kind of see train. Because it's whenever
I don't believe
event,
every conspiracy, Justin. Come on now.
every event, some people will come up to me and they'll be like, I can't believe Mike, is blind. It's like, yeah, I mean, he's called Blind Mike. Like that's kind of like his shtick. But I hope he's getting better, and I hope
he'll be
he's
back.
just learning to deal with whatever life throws at him. He's a tough guy. He'll get there. But I don't know if you guys want to talk about any of the other topics we covered on the first part. Have you guys been to any live shows, or Elvin? Have you been?
I have not. I've had tickets to the Wilbur for it feels like 6 years, just sitting on my desk. I mean, I'm just waiting to go. So that's moved to June, which is cool. I'm fine with that. But no, we haven't made it. We wanted to go up to Saco, but I think all that was left was Sundays, and Sundays for this crowd, for us three, is a little challenging. Yeah. So no, unfortunately not.
Would you be interested? Because I know they've been talking about Pennsylvania. I don't know where you guys are located. You guys don't have to say where you're located, but it's I know
we're open about it.
Yeah, we have before.
I'm in Massachusetts. Zach's in New Hampshire. Elvin's Massachusetts. I'd be willing to go. Hell yeah.
Nice, because I think I think New Hampshire's been thrown around. The whole driving idea was incredible. It was everyone's just there like Zach. I know you said you're not a diehard listener. You don't listen to too much. Kind of get filled in by Twitter. It was still such a fun time. Like there would be some things you really like. It'd be difficult to understand if you're just kind of like a casual listener, but it was a great time. I saw people there. I think people's wives and girlfriends had great times. Just kind of hanging out, kind of having a social gathering. Of course, socially distanced gathering.
Well, considering like the doxing and these issues that I've been seeing, the KMS community seems really cool. Like it really like rabid fan base, and like that I appreciate a lot. And it's it says a lot about Kirk and how good he is at what he does. That he's garnered this like intense following, and this really built a community off of it.
Very unique.
Yeah, very, very.
I think it's unique because you have people who are more of a fan of being a fan than the actual show, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. That's kind of what I was saying.
It's all credit to Kirk about how he has these events. He gets people incorporated. He all like you never meet someone who's like, yeah, it's like I like the Patriots, but boy, like, oh, do I love being a Patriots fan? And you're like,
yeah, that's true.
Like you like the Patriots, but like,
yeah, right.
We all
no one's that much of a fan of something or I guess you could kind of compare it to kind of like the Grateful Dead or kind of Fish, where people necessarily don't go or. There's a Jimmy Buffett concert every year at the Xfinity Center. I don't know if you guys know where that is. It's in Mansfield,
of
Massachusetts. Course. And people don't pay for the ticket. It's always sold out. It's always super expensive. It always sells out. And people don't pay. It's like $300 a ticket. People don't pay that for the concert. They pay that for the experience beforehand, the tailgating beforehand. And I kind of think the whole Saco show is what that was. It was. I mean, don't get me wrong. The show was incredible. And it was worth the $100 per car just for that. But the fact that we got like just pretty much just a little Minahan festival where you got to see people, you got to see DEC before he turned, you got to see Kevin from Bristol, all these other guys, and it was just cool just to hang out and just drink, eat some food, drink some drinks.
Did anyone get belligerent?
Did anyone get like shit-faced?
Like I remember the car alarm guy.
It was the car alarm guy.
But
Steve from Providence got pretty shit-faced, but he wasn't like a problem.
Oh, okay. So he wasn't like trying to get into fights.
No, there were definitely some people who enjoyed the booze, but it wasn't anything like there was no punches thrown. Like I've worked at the Xfinity Center. I used to work there. I worked there for like 10 years, from when I was 15 all the way up until last year when I was 22. And it's like it's funny, like there's so many fights. You think these people all have something in common in this band, and that they share, so they kind of can bond over that. People fight all the time over the stupidest things. There was no fighting at these events. It was all just I I don't want to say it was like all one love, man, but it was kind of like, you know, it was fun.
It's
a lot of
weird
fun.
because it feels like the Twitter. There's a lot of animosity.
A lot.
You know,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of people. It feels like a lot of real hatred. It's like there's not much humor mixed in some of this shit. So I'm surprised that these events happen and no one's like, you know, throwing down or gets drunk and starts mouthing off or something.
I feel like that's just because it's one of those things where you're behind a screen, you're not necessarily, you know, because I can talk a lot of shit to, like, let's say you guys, and then I just shut it off, and then I go and play Super Mario Sunshine for the next, 2 days, and nothing happens. But if it's in person, I'm like, well, do I really want to get into a fight with these people, and then get arrested and do all these things? It's like, especially like when you think about like what people are fighting over, it's always something stupid.
Always.
I like when it comes to, Mayo getting upset that Mutt isn't on a part of the casting couch or something like that.
So the one thing I wanted to bring up, I'm glad you brought Mayo up because I think he's a douchebag. He called for us to get canceled right when we first started. He wanted us to get thrown off the YouTube. So dude's a shitbag as far as I'm concerned. Maybe I'll change my opinion if I ever meet him and we have a conversation. Maybe not. I don't know. But where I will defend him, I don't know if this is true. Featherston doxed him or tried to dox him. That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the full story. I mean, I have no idea. This is the first I'm hearing of that. If he did, that sucks. I don't know. But to say that Kirk is somehow responsible for, I think part of the call today was Mayo was saying Kirk was responsible for how, isn't like the whole point of the show to think for yourself and to kind of be like, hey, just because someone thinks this way doesn't mean that the actions of necessarily their fans or necessarily people they follow. Kirk said a million times that, when people say, oh, Trump's calling for violence, he's calling for violence when he's not calling for violence. But people say, oh, this person was a Trump supporter and he did something stupid. It's like, yeah, we have free speech in this country. That's not necessarily Trump's fault, or it's not necessarily Bernie Sanders' fault when a softball game gets shot up or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And that was a Bernie supporter that shut up the softball game. So are we going to blame Bernie? Like,
yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah. So it's like you can't blame Kirk if someone does something stupid or that
That's
he wouldn't
true.
do. But also it's just a part of the world now. It sucks that it's that social media has become this big thing, but it's I mean, some people will go after your personal information, and if it's out there online, it sucks. And so I hope that's not true, but it's but yeah, no, that's a good point. I haven't even thought about that, but I don't get what going after Kirk and saying,
yeah, his anger is misplaced for sure. I agree with you on that. It's like, take it up with Featherston if he's gonna fuck with you. Speaking of Trump, you just mentioned it. I saw it just scroll past my Twitter. He was they intercepted a package filled with ricin. Did you see that? You guys watch Breaking Bad?
I have seen it.
That's what they used in Breaking Bad.
Tuco.
That's right.
Tuco.
Yeah.
That was the best season, by the way. That was the best season of that show. With the twins, the crazy twins that were trying to kill his brother-in-law there. That was like
the
the best
episode when they're in his house and he's taking a shower and then he gets the phone and then they check the phone and they say it's off. That gets me every time.
That was wild.
Absolutely. But no, I didn't see the Trump thing though. Sorry to cut you off, Justin. So what? Who?
Secret Service intercepted a package containing whatever. I don't want to mispronounce it. Is that how you say it? Okay,
I think it is ricin.
All right, and which is like a heavily toxic whatever.
Poison.
I guess it's a toxin poison, and a little bit of sprinkle of that will kill someone, is what I just googled. So that's pretty insane. All because of I guess the court shit that's happening, and he's going to make a pick next week, and he says it's likely a woman. So
yeah, people are gonna see. Real quick on the whole RBD thing.
I was just going to say that.
I think you should. No one gives a fuck about my opinion here, but I think people should pick a side, and whether you think it doesn't matter. It should not be party affiliated. You should either have to wait until after the election if it's during an election year, or if it's before. You can't be doing this thing where if it's a Republican, you should wait, and if it's a Democrat, you should push them through, and then 4 years later do the exact same thing. I think it's hypocritical for Joe Biden right now to be calling, oh, you know, they need to get this done. It's like, you wouldn't be saying this if you guys won in 2016. With that being said, I do think they should wait. I don't even necessarily think that I think a Supreme Court vacancy would help Trump more than anything, because I think that would kind of rile up maybe the pro-life crowd in certain states that might not necessarily like him because, you know, Trump's not really that religious of a man. And I think he could kind of say, like, hey, if you want a pro-life judge, you know, you got to vote for me. So I think that would get more people to bite his tongue. I'm not a Trump guy.
There's also the other side of it, though, where like a lot of Democrats, like even ones I've been speaking with, they don't like Biden. They're just voting for him out of whatever. A lot of people aren't voting, but I feel like this issue will get people to vote for Biden. I think it'll work on both sides of the coin.
Well, to go conspiracy, then, do you think, like you've been saying, do you think RBG actually has been dead for a while, and now they're saying it at this point because it'll get people to the polls to vote Democrat to win the seat?
I was thinking what they might do is, you know, they might say she has to go, you know, stay in a safe house because of COVID, and they would tuck her away, and like she died, but they would just tuck her away at like a family house, and then just kind of have her chill there until they find out whether Biden wins or whether he loses, and then they would announce it. So Trump wouldn't be able to push someone through.
Because I think I'm with E. I could see this being a political play for the Democrat. It benefits the Democrats more than the Republicans, because Republicans already have the majority of the seats. So
right.
And remember, this happened with Scalia. When Scalia died, there was
a difference, though.
Yes,
but it was the opposite, right? Where like the Dems wanted to force the vote through, and the GOP was trying to delay it until the election in 2016,
because
right?
The GOP had the majority in the Senate.
GOP had the House then, which they do now as well. So they basically, I'm sorry, the Senate. The Senate is who votes on the justices.
Supreme Court.
So basically, back then, the Republicans had it just like they do now. So the Republicans, said, no, we're not going to vote on it because they controlled it.
Mm-hmm.
And they can do that now. They can say, we will vote it because you know what? You want the fucking seat? Win. That's how you lost.
Yeah,
she's
whole thing
dead for friggin' 2 years, though.
Yep. She's dead.
The whole thing is just, and also you kind of like, I don't want to like speak ill of the dead right now, but also she was what, 87, 88?
87, yeah.
She could have retired when she was 80, during Obama's beginning of his second term, and
right. And
she thought Hillary had it in the bag.
Right.
She thought Hillary had it in the bag and fucked up.
I don't know how Justin and the Minifans got into this whole RV, because it's kind of the topic of the weekend.
Yeah.
But is there anything else you guys want to hit on before we wrap things up here?
I would like to put you through a quick rapid fire if you got time.
Sure, real quick. Let's do it.
All right. It's just a quick, do you believe or not? And you guys help me out because I don't have the list in front of me. But let's go with Bigfoot.
Believe.
Ooh.
Like, I'm talking like gun to my head, like I need to choose. Like,
okay.
So believe.
All right.
Loch Ness Monster.
Believe.
Chemtrails.
Ooh. Chemtrails. Is that the thing that turns frogs gay?
It is. According to Alex Jones, the commercial airline is spraying.
Do not believe.
Okay.
All right. How about
Michelle Obama?
Yes.
Is Michelle Obama a man?
Yes.
No, I do not believe Michelle Obama is a man.
Is Area 51 the site of UFO crash, UFO research?
I think Area 51 is the site of a lot of things, including unidentified objects.
Do you think they have like an alien craft there that they study? And
I definitely think there's some sort of alien, not necessarily craft, but technology that we somehow have recovered. I mean, we had to have, whether or not it was uncovered and it was covered in dirt and shit, and they were just like, we don't know what this is. I do think there's some sort of UFO and alien technology that we are in possession of.
I like it. All right.
I have the list here, by the way, if you want me to go.
Can I just say one that's not on the list?
Yeah.
Was COVID-19 a planned event?
Was it a planned event? No and yes. I do think that the Chinese government was trying to come up with something to get the Hong Kong protesters kind of to stop.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of worked with this whole COVID thing. I don't necessarily know if this whole quarantine thing, this whole hitting the election process was a planned event. So I'll say 50-50 on that.
Okay.
What about the elites running the world above elected officials, some small group of cabal,
Are you talking about,
Illuminati?
like, George Soros and stuff like that?
Sure, the deep state, cabal, Illuminati, whatever term you want to use for.
I do think that there is a small group. When I say small group, it's still in the thousands because just of how big the world is. Who kind of do run things on the back end.
And they're telling presidents and prime ministers and elected officials what to do.
I don't necessarily. I think they're influencing who becomes presidents and prime ministers more than they're telling presidents and prime ministers.
Okay,
that's fair.
Are you an Obama truther? Is he an American citizen? Was he born in America? I should say.
I believe he was born in Hawaii.
Was 9/11 an inside job?
I do not believe it was an inside. My favorite theory that someone told me about 9/11 is that someone was trying to, those air shows they have?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Someone was trying to audition for an air show. And so what they wanted to do is they wanted to hijack. This is a legit conspiracy that was somewhere out there. So they wanted to hijack the plane and then fly it between the towers to get people to go, wow, that was so crazy how they did that.
What about the second one?
Yeah, what about the second one? Failing. And then there was another person. It was like two friends. It was like, hey, hey Elvin, we both have our pilot's license, but damn it, the Blazing Angels or whatever, they just won't accept us. So what we're going to do is we're going to hijack a plane. We're going to fly it between these two towers. And the people are going to be so impressed with us that they give us a job, and it went awry. That's my favorite 9/11 conspiracy, but I did not think 9/11 was an inside job.
Okay.
All right.
Did we land on the moon?
I do think we landed on the moon.
Is big tech listening to you through the microphone of your phone?
I have ExpressVPN, so hopefully ExpressVPN works. But
shout out.
Aside from that, someone who doesn't have ExpressVPN.
I do think that the NSA has the ability to. I do think they have the
even when it's idle, like not when you're on a phone call, when it's just sitting on your desk.
It is weird. I don't necessarily think they use the microphone. I think they more use the tracking of cell phones to kind of determine where people, because you can tell a lot about someone from where they go.
That's how they got Hernandez, right? Pretty much. That was the smoking gun, right?
Something about that.
I think he had the track. He brought his cell phone to the fucking place.
All right, couple more. Are you an anti-vaxxer?
Anti-vaxxer? No, I'm a big vaxxer.
What about the COVID vaccine?
I'll take the COVID vaccine.
Okay.
What?
Just because once I take the COVID vaccine, there's nothing you can say to me. I'm going to be going everywhere. I'm not going to be wearing a mask, and people are going to be like, Justin, you got to be wearing a mask. I'm going to go, nope, I'm not vaccinated. So nothing
I might
you can do
dead
about
tomorrow,
it.
but
and if I grow a third testicle or something like that,
you could just tell them you took the shot and you didn't really.
Well, according to Bill Gates, there's going to be a digital certificate or whatever of your.
See, I think Bill Gates is a good person. I know you guys are probably going to blow up hate.
Well,
this.
I'm actually weirdly have become the biggest Bill Gates defender on this podcast.
I think Bill Gates is. Just
I don't think he's a good guy though.
I think he's a super rich guy who is currently just trying to help out the world, and people think, oh, he's just trying to control the world. Meanwhile, you see him in interviews, and he's excited about hot dogs and stuff like that. I don't think he's trying to. I think there's a lot more evil people in the world than Bill Gates.
Okay. And did Epstein kill himself?
Oh no, absolutely not. No way. Or there's also the idea that Epstein killed himself to save. I don't think he voluntarily killed himself. I think maybe he got a message that was either hey, kill yourself, or this, and this. Maybe he has some family members, maybe, that Maxwell woman or whatever. But no, yep. I do not think he voluntarily committed suicide.
Sure.
I mean, talk about everything going everything.
Yeah.
That's one of the things where it shouldn't even be conspiracy theory. It's just something that people just choose to ignore. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Everything lined up perfectly on that. That's just like, you can't turn a blind eye to that.
So I'm gonna leave you guys with one more conspiracy theory.
Right.
Is Steve Robinson a Russian plant?
I'm going to say no because when Steve came on the show, we agreed on absolutely everything. I'm a Steve guy.
I don't think Steve is important enough to be a Russian spy.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't know. You got to work your way up, and I mean, he's on a pretty influential. Tell me, has Kirk said that he could influence who New Hampshire votes for in the presidential election?
Has he?
He said that many times. He said that the reason why Trump won the primary in 2016 was because of him on WEI. So I think a good way, if you're a Russian asset, you sneak your way in the Kirk Minahan universe and you kind of get your message out there, and you got to look at it. He's not necessarily primary. He's not necessarily like affecting things firsthand, but secondhand, third hand.
He's too caught up in his bay leaf theory to be worried about being a Russian asset.
What's his bay leaf theory?
I don't even know exactly, but he was fired up about the fact that bay leaves don't do anything, but there's a gigantic market for them, for millions of dollars, and everybody puts them in food even though it doesn't have any flavor. He's like, what is the point of bay leaves?
Yeah, that's like for like half the food in the world, though. I mean, you look at shark fins, and there's no point in shark fins, but people are just destroying an entire species.
Zach, that was just a distraction from Steve. So he is a Russian agent. I'm with you.
Yeah, he could have been brought in from Russia to, he has Kirk's ear, and Kirk has a large audience. Like
that's what I'm saying. He kind of whispers sweet nothings into his ear every now and then. And Kirk goes, "Oh, just relay the message," and only if 10% of the audience retains it, it's still 10% more than one of those.
It's true.
It's true.
So thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks so much, Jesse.
Thanks, man.
And by the way, I heard Kirk say, he asked if I am autistic. I am not autistic. I just have an affection with a first lady from before I was born.
Is that the Silver Fox?
That is Barbara Bush.
I was going to say that's Barbara Bush.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird, man.
I'm just into some strange things. So no, I know how to laugh. I was just no sell on that joke last week. It was but I thought it was funny when Kirk goes, "Is Justin autistic?" Not that there's anything wrong with autism or anything like that. I just thought it was funny. So
I don't know. I don't even know what autism is. Still, I don't think. I don't fully understand it.
I think everyone has a little bit of autism. But with that, I will talk to everyone maybe next week if Mike's not back, and have a